Okay, thank you. Continue, please.
Okay, so now, as I was telling that robotics and robotic automation are not exactly same, but all robotic process automation is some or other kind of pure automation. So how robotics or robotic process RPS stands out from other automation? So the thing is that we call robotics is a mimic kind of automation. So it mimics the action of a user in true sense. Like whatever the user does, it would actually do the exact same thing or replicate exact same steps to automate a business process. And what are the qualities or what are the properties of the business process which facilitates RPA, or which on which we can do RPA, are like few things they are like highly repetitive. So if the process is highly repetitive, then it can be a good RPA candidate. Because if the process isn't highly repetitive, then it won't bring too much of cost saving or efficiency thing in your automation. So it should be highly repetitive. Then it should be rule based. So when we say rule based, it means that the robo or the software which you are actually build should be able to follow a specific given set of rule each and every time it runs. So it should not change, like it is something today and then it would be something tomorrow. Then it would fail, because it is like some kind of software without any kind of brain. So it should be a rule based software, and the data should be structured. Like it cannot be that unstructured or semi structured data. So highly structured data would be an ideal candidate for automation. So if we take that all these three into account, highly repetitive, rule based, and like structured data, then that immediately we can know that this is a process which can be automable with robotic process automation. So what robotic process automation does is actually it creates a virtualized workflow. So this is not a real workforce, but a virtualized workforce. So, and when I say virtualized, that means you create once and you can replicate it in multiple robo. And then what happens that all your robot actually becomes your workforce. And like instead of human beings being the workforce, the robot being becomes the workforce. And then you can use the robot 24/7 365 days a year, and all the time according to your needs and according to the necessities. So, and it would do all those in the same way which a normal human being would have done it. So it is a highly virtualized workforce. Then I say that like if it human can do it, then it would mimic or it would replicate exactly what the human does. And you as an administrator or as a manager, you don't need to do anything complex other than just acquiring the license or acquiring the software, and have a development team, or even you can develop it from other team, and then you can just use it as is. Then other areas, like you can use this as a business configuration of processes can be done automated through simple intuitive steps. And then it would just exactly do the things which the user does as of now to complete that business configuration. So having said that, when I said that in the very first line that it is highly repetitive, rule based, and uses of structured data. So normally now the question, or now this was a definition when robotic process automation initially started its journey way back, like 7 8 years back, or even more. But it has now come up a long way, and now everybody, every player in this robotic process automation era and allow realizes that if you say that it can only replicate, it can only do whatever the human is doing without any brain, so nobody is going to accept it as is, in the sense that they say, okay, this is fine what it is doing, we need this, but then it also needs to have some kind of brain, some kind of processing or ability to take up semi-structured data or unstructured data. Because as you know, most of the data in the world what we generate or what we get is actually semi-structured or unstructured, because structured data needs some kind of effort from us to make it structured data from semi-structured data. So who would be doing that? If a human being has to do that, then there would be a very little scope of automation to be left for or robotic process automation. So now the all the big players like the ones robotic who are the robotic player automation players in the arena have also incorporated features like machine learning, AI, and things like that, whereby which you make your robot work seamlessly with various automation scenarios where you have to employ your brain, or you have to do some kind of processing which requires like kind of machine learning, or which requires some kind of intelligence. So that is called like intelligent automation. Intelligent automation is definitely a step ahead of robotic process automation, but yeah, as of today, robotic process automation, you cannot think out robotic process automation without intelligent automation. So intelligent automation has now automatically become a parcel and part of robotic process automation. Okay, so moving to the next, like when we say automation and robotic process automation, robotics, whatever, and everybody would ask like, what are the benefits? You say that robotic process automation can it's good, the world is moving towards robotic process automation, but the licensing cost, you have the licensing cost, you have the training cost, you have this infrastructure cost, then what would you get in return? So unless there is an ROI, and then nobody would be pleased, it should be substantial. So what are the benefits it provides? So the first one is the reduction in cost. So why we say reduction in cost? So reduction in cost, when the if you have to do the same thing repetitively by the user, you are going to pay the user a hefty sum of days after days, months after months, year after year. Now when we say a robotic, so yeah, we have upfront cost, like you have to for the infrastructure, you have to bear some cost, be it in on premises, be it on cloud. You need to have the licensing cost, you have to have the training cost, but believe me, it's like a very nominal when you compare. If you are working for a company where you get a huge scope of doing RPA, then you would get the return just within few months, not even year, 1 year. It would get you would get in few months, because it is so efficient, it reduces the cost so drastically, and the productivity increases dramatically. If you're and the productivity and also the efficiency, I should say, it would improve dramatically. So for a whole day there might be 3 shifts of your normal workforce who work throughout the day for a process, but you can employ the single robot, and the single robot will do the entire work of the day of the 3 person. So that's a very simplistic kind of comparison which I just made. So that way it shows that how effective or how productive it is. Then obviously you have a reduction in your errors, like whenever there is human involved. So what much efficient or what much dedicated the employee may be, so he or she is bound to make some kind of errors, because if you make him or her to work 9 hours or 10 hours, 11 hours a day, every human would make some error at some point. and these errors might be costly at point. You never know, because he may have processed hundreds of records, and out of the three records are errors, and those three records might be a critical one, which actually would incur a loss to your company. Say you are working for another company and you have given a wrong record, you have given a wrong data to a bank, then the bank would charge you damage on that. So things like that happens, and these becomes very costly, like transactional errors become very costly. But it would be like zero, almost zero error for robotic process automation, because as I said, it is robot. It cannot do a mistake. Like either it would fail, that is fail is perfectly fine, it would give you a report that I have failed, I couldn't do it. Then you can do it manually, but what it does would be absolutely fine, because it would be just repeating the steps every time, thousands time and million times. So it would be doing the same thing. Now the accuracy all of drives to a very high order, and you get a very very good reputation for your company for the work you are doing. Then compliance and control enhances the compliances. Now as the world moves on, many complicated scenarios are adding, like in some kind, in some part of the world, you would say that this has to be compliant, that has to be compliant. So there are various like compliance standards and protocols which needs to follow. And one single process, like say you have developed as a developer or a company a product which services, say, some kind of banks, and the banks over in India has some kind of regulations needs to be followed. In US it would be a different set of regulations. In Europe it would be different set. So what do you do? You customize, keep on customizing these things, and then you have to have a dedicated workforce for that. Okay, so this is for APAC region, this is for Asia Pacific region, this is for Europe. So you have different teams until now. But now what happens, you just in the robo, you just configure the robo, you give the rules, what are the rules set, because the robo, as I mentioned, works on a defined rule set. So once you give the rule set, be it whatever, just region, whatever process, it does not care, you have to feed the rule set in Excel file, in whatever format, input format, and then the robot would work accordingly. So the single robot can in the morning can work for the US, and in the night it can work for India. So that's the flexibility you get. Okay. And so yeah, and then it drives improvements in business outcome. So obviously if you are working to perfection, to very high volume of outputs, then the business outcomes would be higher, and the cost and cost would be lower, quality would be higher. So these are normal things which you get out of benefits. So, what are the typical areas where like robotic process automation fits in? So, uh, like banks, as I have mentioned, is a very good candidate, and we have seen that lots of bank over the all of the bank. Like I won't say lots of bank, but I would say that all the banks. Like you won't get a single bank perhaps today which has not employed automatic robotic process automation, and has some kind of automation done. Then business process BPOs and telecom companies. So when I say these are not just, these are just examples where automation, RPA has worked wonders. And but it does not limit only to these three areas. Robotic process automation can be employed, as I mentioned, to any of your business processes which are repetitive in nature, which have a structured data, and which are rule based. So these are just as an example. Okay, then when we say robotic process automation, obviously there are key players or key technologies who have come up with robotic process automation solution. And out of those, the three big players, or the I should say the most advanced and with market share, with the technology with they bring in, what are the options they bring in. So these are the three leaders of RPA. One is the Blue Prism, they are perhaps the most oldest one who have started with this domain. Then Automation Anywhere and UiPath. So Blue Prism, and Blue Prism is like we say, used to say that why we would use Blue Prism, because it was one of the earliest and the oldest one, and it had a very good market share in RPA domain. And Blue Prism is particularly we recommend, or people used to recommend, because of the stringent security policies and rules which you can employ in Blue Prism, which were not available in Automation Anywhere or UiPath until recently, or until a couple of years back. But now they have also catch up. Automation Anywhere, I should say, is one of the first one who brought in, or made robotic process automation look very easy. You have the flexibility of, even without knowing programming, you can do automation. It has brought up automation to that level, where you can just drag and drop activities, and if you have a general logic sense and overall knowledge of the process, you can perhaps automate some simple to medium complex process without doing anything. So that is why robotic process automation and Automation Anywhere is a very good tool, and widely used also. So it brings with the record and click functionality. So as we move on, we would see how it affects, or how it has matured RPA, and help RPA to move mm, move ahead. So UiPath is another tool, and UiPath has also come up a long way and has immensely developed its RPA capability over the last couple of years. And Automation Anywhere and UiPath as of now are like the leading tools in RPA. So each of these tools has its own advantages and disadvantages. So disadvantages and advantages we can cover later, but uh, like uh, disadvantages, it does not mean that it cannot automate, or it would fail to automate. The thing is that it offers a easy way. So maybe UiPath offers the easy way to automate something, and UiPath is better in some other areas. So that is there are some kind of difference in different areas, but as of today, Automation Anywhere and UiPath are the two most advanced and most used and key players in this robotic process automation arena. Okay. Next, whenever you have something new, like robotic process automation is also some kind of new thing, and or I should say that not even new thing. Anything comes with some kind of risks and cost. So what are the risks? Risks are like data integrity. If you don't do the RPA implementation or development properly, then there can be data integrity. Your data can be compromised, your data can be leaked, your data can be lost. So data integrity is a very important thing, and these are it is a kind of when we automate, we always keep a eye to these things like data integrity. Then then malfunctioning, as I have said, a robot can fail or for whatever reason. But what do you know, if it malfunctions, then what are the backup plans, what are the fallback options? So these are very important things which needs to be taken care of. If you don't have any fallback option for your robot when it fails, then obviously it involves a risk. Then orphan or untraceable transaction in case of improper recovery mechanism, so that is also linked to that fallback thing. So when you have, say, you are processing a transaction, and for some reason your robot cannot process it, so it would if you don't handle it properly, then you won't know what happened to the transaction, what happened, you can't figure it out. So things like that are there. And there are obviously some kind of applications which does not provide adequate integration, or with which still there are some kind of issues integrating with some kind of software. So those are some kind of pain points. Now challenges are like robotic process automation tools used to be very costly, so now the cost has come down to considerably, but still it is expensive. Then you need to have a skilled workforce for that, like they need to be trained in robotic process automation to some extent at least. And then you would have to make them trained on those. So that is one. Then that hard. And another important thing is that there is a tendency of pushback from the employees due to fear of like job loss. So the employees can think that robots are going to replace our job, and then we would lose it. So things like that are there. But um, uh, but everything can be overcome, and actually if you do robotic process automation, then maybe you would be able to employ your workforce in a more productive or more important area than what you're currently they are doing. So that is a flexibility also, in addition to challenge. Okay, so this is the summary of what we discussed, like what is automation and what is robotic process automation. So I won't iterate through it. This is just a slide for your reference, and you can see it. So now coming to Automation Anywhere, briefly, I would go to Automation Anywhere now. Like Automation Anywhere is, as I have mentioned, is one of the leading tools in robotic process automation area. So as you already know and heard of that, there are two different Automation Anywhere products. One is we call the AA11 family, and the other one is the A2019 family. So AA11 family is the same old architecture on a client server architecture, where you have a server, where you have clients, where the server clients connect to the server, and it goes like that. So currently what you are seeing on screen is the client. As you can see here, there's a client. I have logged in to the client, and from here you can see the tasks. You can create a task, you can record, run, edit, all these things are available. So this is the client, as I mentioned. In A2019, what you get is a integrated cloud-based complete SaaS offering, like software as a service. And you have a zero install kind of thing, client. Like you don't need to install anything to start your automation journey. So this is a completely different paradigm and different architecture altogether. And though they provide the flexibility and the feature wise more or less they are same, but A2019 is brand new. They have come up with new features. So as of now, they what Automation Anywhere plans and suggest is the A2019 is their product, and they are subsequently going to discontinue AA11, this client server version. So when you install Automation Anywhere, so from Automation Anywhere site, you can automationanywhere.com, you can go and download and install your Automation Anywhere server and Automation Anywhere client. And the only prerequisite is that it requires SQL Server. So SQL Server needs to be installed in your machine previously, and or it would ask to install it, and it has to be running with the proper access, and then only you can install Automation Anywhere. So when I say Automation Anywhere, this is Automation Anywhere control room. So you can have, when you want to install control room, you have to install SQL Server. So you see, once you install the Automation Anywhere, you would see that there is a there is a database created like CRDB kind of name. So this is control room database. So this is the reason why you need SQL Server, and SQL Server is the only choice. You don't have an option to install it in any other database, like any other database, right? Oracle or anything is not supported.
Kushik,
So
Even in 2019, we need to install a SQL Server.
no, so 2019 has come up with some more flexibility. So, but yeah, SQL Server is the one they recommend. But you can also in like for the not for the client, but for the control room, you have to install it in SQL Server. But there are some other options also.
Okay, there is a client and control room in 2019 also, or just in
No,
11
no,
version?
no. Only in 11 version there is client and control room concept. So in 2019 there is no client kind of concept. So it is like entirely cloud based.
Okay, oh yeah,
So it
that means all of development work should be in the control room in the same
in the
application
browser,
and the
in the
browser
browser.
because it's a
Yeah,
cloud.
it's because in the cloud, right?
Yes, okay, okay, thank you. Continue.
Okay, so this is like A20. This is not A2019, but this is how the architecture of Automation Anywhere 11 looks like. You have a control room, and then you have development clients, and then you have bot runners. So bot runners are nothing but executionists. So they execute the automation which you have done, or the task which you have created. And you see at the bottom there is a DB. So this DB is the SQL Server, which the control room connects for its own purposes. It is not that your task data is there. It is a control room data which gets stored there. So the tasks are stored in control room, and then you can execute the tasks from the control room. So this is the architecture of Automation Anywhere 11. So this is how the control room actually once you install the control room, it would give you a web URL. And when you open the web URL, you would have to log in with the username and password. And then you would once you give the username and password, you would see something like this. So this is the dashboard of the control room, and there you see like many features and many tabs are there: repository manager, operations room, user manager, security, task schedules, clients, credential manager, app manager. So all these would be there. So this is how it looks like in the control room side. And after you have installed and successfully connected to the control room, then you have to install the client. And once the client installation is done, then you see you have to connect to the client to the control room. So this is the client application, and the control room URL you can see in the screen. So once you give the URL there, and you have the username, password, and then you do a login, then you would see a screen, something which I showed earlier, the client logged in with the client. And when a client logs in the control room, you would see things like this. See, this client, these two clients are connected, so it shows connected in the control room. So this is kind of client server architecture. When the client connects to the control room, it would show as green. When the client disconnects, it would show in red. And from the control room, you can manage all the clients, you can run the tasks, things like that. So this is the overall structure or overall architecture, how robotic process or how Automation Anywhere works, 11 works. And A 2019, I would say, is completely different pack, and it's a completely different way it works. And you see, this also provides you a comprehensive dashboard kind of thing, like Automation Anywhere 11, where you actually get to see how many tasks are completed, what are the registered clients, how many users are there, what are the failed tasks,